Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Strive Summit podcast. I'm here today with Erin Khan. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Alex, and great to be here. So, my name's Erin Khan. I've been in the construction industry for 11-ish, going on 12 years or so, and really excited to be here. So, my passion is bringing together contractors and tech providers and making some good things happen.
Awesome. Okay, so you're doing your own consulting right now. Erin, can you tell me how you connect technology to contractors?
Yeah. So I guess it is an art of finding contractors that are just in the right spot for tech adoption and just need a little extra help. But I like to first start with, let's actually look at the problem you're trying to solve. What are your business requirements? And then do an actual matching exercise to make sure that those business requirements are being addressed by the tech that we're sourcing. So
Okay, so
there's more to it, but that's the basics. Yeah.
so this is what I'm excited about to talk with you today is because you're introducing technology to contractors. What are some of the technologies that are easier to kind of like, I don't want to say push, but kind of get contractors involved in? And then what are some of the most exciting ones you've seen? You haven't had a chance to like involve yet, but you're excited to bring it to the space.
Yeah, for sure. So easier is an interesting question because you can't really pinpoint one piece of technology in my perspective. It's down to what is actually relevant to your field teams. So if your operations teams are really struggling with, let's say, daily reports, a solution that does everything, magically get rid of all your emails or whatever the case may be. But if it doesn't do daily reports, then it's just not going to get adopted. It's not really going to go too far or be relevant. So it goes back again to nailing that business problem in the beginning. So the easy ones are the ones that take away pain. They make people's days, their lives better, and you can't really imagine going back to the way you used to do it. So it's those ones that really just are intuitive, naturally make sense, and click with the workflow that you're already doing. So that's what I think is easy. And then what I think is exciting, we've heard it said time and time again, artificial intelligence is the buzzword, I think, of maybe this year and a few years to go. But I would say AI alone doesn't necessarily excite me that much because it's actually been around for a long time. Some of these applications aren't necessarily new, they're just kind of accelerated and expanded. But what really excites me is the ability to connect different technologies to each other and then have that data be synthesized and then drive smarter AI solutions. So interested to see the continuing like synthesis of these tools.
I absolutely love AI. Now, I've noticed there's a lot of people that just say AI, but their software just does things systematically. To me, AI is actually giving you an answer you don't actually have. So it's actually like let's talk daily progress reports, right? Things that have
Sure.
to go in a daily progress report. It's AI enhanced. So what does that mean? Is it actually writing me a paragraph of what happened that day, or is it just like putting things together in a nice, neat paper? But do
Yeah,
people label it AI? People might label it AI. It's a little gripe, but my company Strive runs all on AI. So all the even this podcast, I'm using Riverside. Riverside has AI to chop it
yeah,
all up and edit that, and so I'm very thankful for it. Trust me, because one man show doing all
absolutely.
this is absolutely nuts.
Absolutely, yeah. It
How
definitely gives a power boost. Yeah.
how many people are on your team?
It's really just me, and I do have an assistant that kind of helps with some of the back office stuff. So shout out to my assistant, Pam. But yeah, it's mostly just me on my team. Occasionally, I'll collaborate on different projects. It's one of the nice things about being an independent consultant. So I do have a whole variety of exciting opportunities out there. But yeah, so far, the intent of my consulting practice as well was to kind of stay boutique size and then
Mhm.
see where we go from there. So,
Yeah, I know what that feeling's like. Well, first off, go Pam. Pam, keep up the good work. No, So technology out there, you're trying to introduce more. I don't want to say like not on-site construction tech, but more in-house kind of organization, kind of construction technology. Or have you done
It
any on-site stuff?
It depends. Well, so if I go back to, prior years of experience, except at construction, for example, obviously did a lot of on-site stuff. So all the way from, robotics and IoT to 360 cameras and drones. So that's pretty much all under my belt. And again, it always comes back to like, what are you actually trying to do on your project and do for your
Mm-hmm.
company? I would say at this point in my, journey, I'm definitely a tech generalist. So I have a pretty broad but still deep experience with tech applications, both for, back office construction functions and forward facing operations.
That's incredible. That's awesome. I am really excited to hear how you got into construction
Yeah.
because you mentioned you have all this technology. Like, did you ever know that that was in construction when you got into it, or was it something that was like you just kind of grew and just learned to love?
Yeah, this is such a good question. It might take a while to unpack, but
Go for it. Let's unpack it.
let's go into it. So let's see. I think like reflecting back on my life, it's really just been a series of small decisions and influences that have like led me kind of naturally into this role. But it really starts with being, very, very young. My dad is an electrician. He would always be doing extra work around the house, or,
Hmm.
um, we had, if there was ever like a house project going on, I'd say, oh, extraction, or because I couldn't say construction.
Yep.
So I think I was just naturally like, oh, like something's happening today. We're changing something about, something physical and real. So I think just being exposed to that early on was one factor. So just, um, being closer rather than a step removed. And then I think back to, myself as a middle schooler. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was such a weird kid.
I think we all were at some point, so no worries there.
Yeah, well, we're all unique, so.
Yes. Yes.
But what was really cool, and I appreciate this so much more later on than when I was in middle school, but we had a program. I think it was for students who maybe didn't want to go or weren't a good fit for like the traditional academic route and wanted to go into a trade, things like that. So we had metal shop and wood shop, and I loved it. And I actually said, "Hey, I want to take another year of this. Can I do that?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure." So, yeah, so there's Erin, like the eighth or ninth grader, going to like wood shop class, and we had some cool opportunities there, like to even start learning CAD. And I remember doing some bridge design with help and supervision, like putting together a cabinet to hold CDs and
Hmm. Hmm.
things like that. So I was actually getting the experience of if I can draw this, I can build it, and then I can use it after the fact. So that was
So
pretty cool.
what like kept you going? What got you excited about that? Was it the whole
Yeah.
process? Was it seeing the end product? Was it just like taking
So
pride in the work that you did?
I don't, I think, I don't, I think there's just something like naturally exciting about like pulling these different pieces together to create something that will
Hmm.
be lasting beyond yourself. That's kind of cool. But I honestly, I didn't really think about it. So,
You
so
just did it because you liked it.
I actually did like 13 years of piano, violin, singing, like music stuff.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, yeah, I have been, my husband's a professional musician, so like I'm in a professional music studio right now too. But I really didn't know if I was gonna go the music route or like something more creative or something more technical. So when I got into USC, University of Southern California, I was undecided in the liberal arts college. So I
Hmm.
had no clue at all. what I wanted to do. And I think what really was the turning point for me, I tried a whole bunch of different classes, and I kind of kept coming back to like, well, I kind of miss a little bit of the technical side. I really miss teamwork. I miss like something that gives back something else to the community, and that really led me to civil engineering. So civil engineering seemed to kind of check all those boxes. And then, yeah, I switched, I think, sophomore year into an engineering major. So that really kind of started me down the path.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're out of college. Are you going to practice as a PE, or how'd you get into?
Yeah. So so interesting question again. So my senior year of college, of undergrad, at USC, one of the projects that I was, really lucky to be a part of with Morley Builders back in the day is USC Heritage Hall and doing that renovation project. And that project, I think, was one of the earlier ones that had like a coordinated model. And this was all done by other engineers with many more years of experience than I did at the time because I was a green engineer intern,
Right.
is still in school technically. But that was like the first, I guess, what am I trying to say? The first time I was exposed to just the concept of taking some digital 3D asset, using it for coordination, and then also turning it over to the owner at the end of the job. So I didn't do any of it myself at that point because, again, like, first year
Right. You're
intern, you're probably not touching some of that stuff. But it was pretty cool to see, oh, okay, we can, pull this up with a computer and it's going to match what we have in the field and these types of things. But also with that like first intern experience, I think it was also pretty eye-opening for me. Like while technically there was some modeling, there was also like very manual processes, stacks of paper. I think, the drawing sets were literally bigger than me. So it kind of was a head scratcher for me. Like, hey, where's the rest of the technology? Like, we're doing a lot of things on paper. We can probably digitize that. So really how I got into like construction tech, I got super passionate about Bluebeam review and applying, just digital plan sets and markups. And eventually Bluebeam does have or did come out with like a 3D PDF viewer and some other cool stuff. So that kind of led me down the construction technology route.
That's super awesome. I talk to a lot of people who go down engineering or architecture, but end up somewhere in the middle, which,
Yeah.
the BIM VDC path, but that
Hmm.
path is never outlined for anybody. You don't
Yeah.
know, like you're going to architecture school, you're going to engineer, but you don't know the parts in between that I really want to kind of help push the industry towards a normal of, oh, I can go to college for
Hmm.
this, or there's this. And this path, it kind of touches on everything. But I mean, you're a technologist that you saw it happen and you're like, oh, this is amazing. This can help so many more different companies. Obviously, through your
Hmm.
career, which I know I'm stopping you, but we're going to get through all that. But you're seeing all this stuff. And I think it's a great sign that like the industry is so young that there's an opportunity for someone to start their own company to just introduce technology to contractors.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty amazing to me. Because usually a lot of people come like, oh, we want to go from CAD to Revit. Okay, that's
Hmm.
software. But then a lot of times people go to these trade shows to find the machinery or find what they want to do, or they're like, oh, we'll have a demo here and a demo there. But someone who understands it all can point them in the right direction. Like you were saying,
Yeah. And
what are their
uh,
headaches?
I would even go maybe like push back on that too. Like, you don't necessarily have to understand it all. And I feel like I am surprised and learning all the time. I think it just really takes somebody who's naturally curious and is uncomfortable with the status quo.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would like go crazy if I had to do the same thing like over and over again. Or I always want to like find out more or a better way because I believe that we can always continuously improve. So that to me is kind of the foundational piece of someone who's like able to bring these different parts together. So yeah.
So, do you go to a lot of conferences and find these new rising startups and stuff, and kind of see what they can do, or do you mainly stick to the tried and true and what's been working?
Yeah, how do we find the solutions? It's something I've been asked before, and it's not a super straightforward answer because there are so many good sources and ways that, we get information in this industry. Honestly, some of the best routes, I guess, have just been word of mouth. So, I think construction is a massive industry, but still somehow seems to be a small business.
It's very small.
Yeah, so word of mouth is pretty strong. So your teams too, like especially if you're a contractor working with your field crews, they somehow just know or will be keyed in on specific things like, oh, I saw so and so use this on their job. Can we use it on our job? So those
Hmm.
conversations are one key area. Conferences for sure. So I do go to a fair number of conferences. I can't go to every single one that I would like to, but
Don't we all wish we could?
yeah, I'd need 10 more of me to kind of cover all the great ones that are out there. But conferences are a great spot to obviously find a lot of solutions all in one. Um, and then let's see. So I think just general networking and having just been in the industry like 10, 11 years plus, people kind of get to know, okay, let me reach out and so. They might have resources, that kind of networking or relationship building really. So my LinkedIn has also been flooded with more messages than I can usually handle well on my own, but my LinkedIn DMs are open, so that's where I do love to connect with solutions out there that I have no idea about. So you'll pretty much always get a response from me there too.
I will say the digital construction industry on LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. I can't tell you, including yourself, how many people I've
Oh,
met
geez,
and
thank you.
talked to through LinkedIn that have become like pivotal in what I'm doing today. Like some of them are helping me out. I'm giving them jobs and stuff because I know who to contact now, and
Mhm.
just hearing their stories again is incredible. So talk me through your career. So you got into engineering, you're seeing the tech now.
Yeah.
What are some of these places as you go from place to place? What are some things that you're learning and picking up?
Yeah. Let's see. So I guess career-wise, I've had a pretty interesting trajectory. So let's see. Once I graduated school, I was a project engineer, senior project engineer. While at my first GC, I was able to have some rotations into end pre-construction, so got a little bit of experience there. Um, Also got some experience on the uh, technically concrete self-perform side for a very, very small stint, and then eventually landed in IT. And the role in IT was like a specific process improvement focused role, which was intended to start bringing together, technology and delivering it in a way that was effective for operations to pick up. So that was like the earlier. So I kind of got a little bit of everything, which I think was super critical. And I would encourage other contractors out there to also think about, the what is it? There's a specific word that I want to use and I'm forgetting it, but well-roundedness of, the experience because it definitely contributes to some greater perspective later on. Um, but yeah, so a lot of lessons learned along the way. But eventually I said, I want to do more just with tech and innovation and operations, which led me to Suffolk, which they were really pioneering some amazing stuff, late 2017, start of 2018, with at the time they were called the Smart Labs. So these were centers and are centers of innovation in major regions. that strategically, deploy technology to operations to make things more efficient, effective, safer, um, solve problems, you name it. So
Mhm.
started there as a regional director, one of a team of about seven or so. So it was just an incredible, incredible experience. Fantastic colleagues there. Super, super smart team. So I kind of miss being on such a dynamic and amazing team like that. But yeah, we got to basically be at the forefront of finding these solutions and then actually seeing and measuring, okay, here's how it does, here's what we thought it would do, here are the ones that are worth scaling up. Um, and then there's just so much more.
So, question for you. Okay, so
Mhm.
you were regional director, you said, regional manager?
Construction solutions director for Southern California, and then after a few years went into the national role.
So, how does someone achieve that? It's
Hmm.
for people watching, right?
Yeah.
You can go and like before all of this BIM stuff, it was drafting, and you can go get a 2 year degree for drafting and sit at any company and draw on a computer
Hmm.
for 40 years at the same chair. And now there's more of a career path and progressive path for a lot of digital construction technologists to move up. A lot of things that I say are like, you know what, you just gotta be willing to put in the hard work and the different work that's
Hmm.
not in your job description to move up. But I'm also curious, like, how did you move up from coming out of school in engineering and then
Yeah.
now you're managing smart labs for the
Yeah.
nation?
Yeah. How did that happen? I would say what has always kind of served me well in any aspect, whether it's professional or personal, is to stay curious and also have a touch of courage. So the
Mm-hmm.
curiosity plus courage seems to propel me into new things that seem kind of crazy at first, but are absolutely rewarding in the long run. So I think it all comes back to, how can I do this better? How can I essentially, it's servant leadership in a way too, because I always want to make my team better than it is, so that they are more effective and efficient. And let's say maybe we use a new tool. Hey, we can go home on time because all this paperwork is automated now.
Right.
So, yeah,
That's
um,
always a good day. Going home at
yeah,
5.
yeah, something like that, right? So yeah, that curiosity and the willingness to follow through on it, I think, is critical. It's really hard, especially in innovation. I think sometimes innovation is not appreciated enough for just how difficult it is, but you have to be really committed to seeing some of these things through, sticking with it and communicating things over and over and over again. And also, like, the courage piece, being willing to kind of look like this crazy person because you're the only person doing it. So yeah, that like comfort with being uncomfortable pieces is totally true. And I think for me, it comes quite natural because I mean, I'm a small, millennial brown woman in construction. Not too many of, people who look like me in the industry. And I think I just was naturally like, yeah, I'm gonna stick out. It's fine. So if I do something else that's, oh, I'm trialing out this new technology tool and experimenting with it and trying to see if how it can make things better, like it it just feels like, okay, it's just another thing that I'm doing differently. But it feels natural in a way. So the other piece too, so like, sticking with it, seeing it through to the end, I think the very, very end piece that a lot of people tend to miss is effectively communicating back to your project teams or leadership, really, and key stakeholders about the value of what you're trying to do. So you could have the most amazing project, the best results, do something totally innovative, but if you don't tell anybody about it, it's not really going to go anywhere, and it's not going to pick up steam, and it's not going to get the attention maybe that it deserves. So, and that's something that I've had to learn along the way too, but that communication piece is essential.
Yeah, I would say communication is probably the most important thing in any,
Hmm.
I guess, any industry or or construction, especially, or in like a small team. I remember when you were talking about having to like stand up and say something, and that reminded me of I worked in a modular factory, and we had a drafting department that turned into a
Hmm.
BIM department, and I was BIM manager, and there's a lot of things that I was trying to implement because this is brand new.
Yep.
And I remember getting in screaming matches in
Hmm.
meetings
Oh
with some of the
man.
guys from the field, and like trying to be like,
Yeah.
no, this is gonna help you. But yeah, I think that perseverance and stuff, and then I think was actually putting it out there and then showing them and having them see the results for themselves as they did it also helped. And
Hmm.
again, communicating that effectively, which I probably didn't if I had to yell, but I've learned along the way,
Yeah.
communicating that effectively to them on what it's going to do for them and how it's going to help
Yeah.
benefit the entire team and company. Yeah, that's huge. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, congratulations. That's incredible.
Well, thanks. I guess, yeah. I don't know. It just feels like I'm existing here, and I've somehow happened to be in this place in my career. But yeah,
I think we all kind of feel the same way at this
yeah,
point when we're all doing our own thing. So,
right.
okay. So tell me how you went from Suffolk to where you're doing today.
Yeah. So, I mean, a few reasons, but fantastic team. Suffolk is definitely leading the industry in a lot of things. But I kind of just got tired of big corporate. I always wanted to do something on my own, and especially with the timing and my situation, it was pretty much the perfect time. So, I kind of sat down and said, okay, well, can I actually do this? And with my husband too, we're like, yeah, we could take a risk for a year, maybe two, see how it goes. And that's that. So I said, yeah, well, why not? It's never going to be as good a time as now. So figured I would just leap in and see how it went. So what I usually tell people when they ask me like, well, how did you actually do it? I usually say, don't do what I did, which was basically, end your 9 to 5 and then just go straight into it. So I really didn't know what I was doing. There was no overlap period. I just kind of jumped in and hoped for the best and figured things out as I went. If you're trying to do this, have more of a plan than I did.
How
But it
scared were
worked out.
you?
Um, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe not too scared because I knew that I was in a pretty good spot at least to
Mm-hmm.
have a comfort level of some range to be able to kind of experiment for a little bit, which was nice. Totally appreciate that. And super grateful for, having some essentially like some funds saved up to be able to say,
Right.
okay, for this year I can kind of figure it out. So that took a little bit of the scariness away. I think what gave me more confidence though was knowing that, well, I've been doing this for, at the time, like 10 years. I'm still doing the same thing. I've always consistently showed up in the industry. People seem
Mm-hmm.
to know who I am. So that was, I think it's like training, right? And the Olympics are on right now, and these athletes, they're relying on years and years of hard work and training to kind of get them to the gold. And I think I was like, yeah, I've kind of like busted my butt for the past decade on construction tech, and like that is my expertise. And there's something specific and unique that I believe that I have to give to the industry that nobody really does or has exactly the way that I do. So that kind of gets me through some of those scary moments.
Yeah, I definitely had a similar story where I shouldn't. I mean, I did what I did, and it got to a point where I was an educator at a company,
Hmm.
and I was building their education up, and I was also doing Strive on the side. which is also some education stuff. And it got too familiar and too similar, and I think there was a conflict of interest for me being at that company and doing my own stuff. So the conversation started, and they were like, "Well, what do you want to do? Like, you want to keep working for yourself, or keep working here?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to give up." And then that's when, okay, well, now I got to apply for jobs and apply for jobs. So now I'm scared. I'm doing the thing where it's like, okay, I need a
Mm-hmm.
job,
Mm-hmm.
or I
Mm-hmm.
go all in on myself, which I have no money for. I remember
Mm-hmm.
speaking to my wife about it, and she goes, "You're not going to do it in any other time. There's no good time to do it. This is the best
Yeah.
opportunity you have. You're clearly know what
Right.
you're talking about." And so, just like your situation, like, don't recommend it, but I think every startup
Yeah.
kind of has the same similar story.
Yeah. Gotta start
No,
somewhere.
it's exciting. It's exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, did you have an aha moment during your career where you were like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this thing." Like, you're doing
Hmm.
technology contractors, right? Was there a moment where you saw it happen, where you helped invest in this contractor with the technology and saw them turn around and then realize that's what I'm doing?
Honestly, I really don't think I've had too many aha moments. It really, like, I really come back to like the series of small steps that have just kind
I was
of,
going to say, yeah.
yeah, just built up over time. Yeah, there nothing like crazy pivotal. I think I do kind of come back to, excuse me, something in my throat. All right, hopefully we can edit that out.
Oh, no, that's staying in.
Geez. All right. Well, so one thing I do come back to like over and over again is Bluebeam, which I think at this point is pretty much a standard tool. We kind of don't
Mm-hmm.
think twice about it, but when I was first starting out, it was a huge deal, and I still think it's a huge deal. But just looking at how some workflows, especially with document control, could go from weeks to hours or just even minutes, I think that kind of really framed the power of technology for me. And then seeing if, okay, well, if we invest in training our team members on how to use this tool and optimize it, then now you're cooking with fire. So that's kind of like the second level of like spark or passion I think that I saw. So one is getting the good right tools, and then two is the optimization and training and adoption. So I really,
That's awesome.
yeah, I really saw that early on with Bluebeam as I guess, a starting point.
I've always found that a lot of people talk about the efficiencies they create is really around their pivotal moment, right? Like
Yeah.
when I got promoted to BIM manager and building a team and setting the standards and everything up, like that was when I was like, we're gonna get some stuff done.
Yeah.
This is my pivotal moment, right? Even with education, the opportunity I had at the last company where I was teaching, seeing people grow from I hate Revit, but I'm taking this class because my boss made me, all the way to yeah, I'm doing this and I'm teaching everyone in my department how to do things now, right? And I think that the power of seeing or taking pride in the work that you see that you complete is massive and influential in the way that we work, especially in this industry. Because you saw Bluebeam as a tool, you took the efficiencies out, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to implement new
Yeah.
tech and find efficiencies. So I think that's incredible. Your story. Are you part of any groups, Women in Tech or Women in BIM or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the setup here. So I'll do a shout out to Women in Construction Tech. So I'm the operations director with Women in Construction Tech. It's a group that is, you guessed it, formed of women in construction and technology, and it's a global group. So we have chapters technically all over the world. We have women with backgrounds from venture capital, field operations, architecture, engineering, all parts of the industry. And we really want to bring together everybody in a community. So the focus is, we're wanting to have this community so that we can have shared experiences, help support each other with progressing careers, and just be so there's a lot of different things that are specifically challenging for women in the industry and especially in construction technology. So it's almost like a double. Um, challenge for women because there's first the construction and then the technology, and both are kind of male dominated. So making that community has been a really, really fantastic part of what we do at WCT. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out for anybody who's listening in, I believe our website is womeninconstructiontech.com, or you can check out our LinkedIn group as well.
That's awesome. I am a huge supporter of that because I once called upon it. My wife was interested in doing what I was doing. And so I said, okay, well, I
Mhm.
mean, what's kind of stopping you? And it was the intimidation factor and women in construction. And so I
Mhm.
reached out to Aparna Krishna Kumar,
Oh
who's
yeah,
in Women in BIM. Yeah.
yeah,
And she was
yeah,
actually on the podcast. And I was
yeah,
able to reach out to her and say, hey, my wife's interested.
yeah.
What's some things that she should know about or help out about? And she mentioned Women in BIM and huge supportive side. My wife didn't go down that path, but
Hmm.
the fact that it was there and available for
Yes,
anyone to
yes,
come in and ask the questions and like the supportive coming back. And I think Abarta all the time whenever I talk to
yeah,
her about that because
yeah.
it's such an incredible thing to just do that. So yeah, if you are a woman and you're concerned about getting in construction, do not be concerned. There are many people in a community of any kind that are willing to help out, especially on LinkedIn, like we talked in earlier. The group in LinkedIn, just in general, they're so
Absolutely.
open and great, and some are very opinionated. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Well,
Opinions need to happen so
it is the
growth can
internet.
happen.
Yeah, it is the internet. Internet's gonna do
Internet,
what it does best.
it's gonna internet. Internet's gonna internet. Awesome. Well, if you had any advice for any woman possibly wanting to get into BIM or not knowing what they want to do in college, what are things that led you down your path that you may give them advice to like look into BIM?
Yeah, try it out. You never know what you're gonna like or enjoy until you actually do it. So you can think about things, but actually, give it a go, if you can. So I come back to like some of the clubs on campus at USC. So there was CMAA and I'm forgetting the specific one, ASCE. There we go. I'm like, yeah, I built and raced concrete canoes in this club, and I can't remember the name. But there are opportunities out there to essentially get your feet wet before you actually, say, okay, I want to do this full time. Um, so I think like CMAA actually was probably one of the first places where I did more than just look at a basic model and actually learn to do some more sophisticated things like Revit and Navisworks. So just try it, and it's totally fine if you're like, this is super boring. I'm not really sure. This isn't quite my thing. Because there are just so many different parts to the industry and the business that could be your thing. So yeah, just go out and try it. Be brave. Don't let anything kind of stop you, even if you're like, this might be silly or I might not fit in. But you might actually like it and enjoy it and find a really great path. So yeah, I guess be open-minded about the opportunities out there too.
Okay, last question. Concrete canoes?
Yeah, yeah, concrete canoes. So American Society of Civil Engineers, they have collegiate chapters. They have a competition. I think I'm forgetting the letters, but it's like PW something something. It's a
Okay.
competition. All the schools, all in different regions, compete. So there's concrete canoe, there's steel bridge, there's one for like water quality, I think. So you bring your steel bridge to the competition, you bring a canoe made of concrete to the competition. And then the theory behind the canoes is that you have a design that's, um, I guess it won't matter how heavy, well, it shouldn't, well, it should float. Your design should float. So you're either working with like lightweight mix, or having just the design of the canoe be able to float. So you go into these canoes, like the team that's built the canoes goes into the canoes, you put it in water,
Okay.
you race it.
And you don't sink?
Well, sometimes you do, but most of the time you don't.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
so much fun. Wow, this is going down memory lane. But the one of the first years, I think this is like very early on. I was like, yeah, I'll join this club. Let me check it out. And that year we had a canoe that just like shared in half for whatever reason. The mix was not good that day. I don't know what happened. So we have these pictures of like us paddling the canoes and just slowly sinking down. Looking back, it's kind of hilarious. But the next year we figured it out. We had a pretty good canoe that didn't sink, made it through everything.
That's good. That's good.
Continuous
Well,
improvement.
there it is.
Yeah.
Erin, I appreciate you coming on today. I loved your story and your journey, and I hope everyone can listen and take inspiration of what you did. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Alex. Really appreciate
Of
it.
course. And so, listeners out there, if you like what you listen to, like these stories, feel free to like, subscribe, follow YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, everywhere else social media is. Appreciate it. All right.